The government has announced the introduction of an identification tracking system for company directors. Every company director in Australia will be assigned a director identification number that'll be tracked by the Australian Taxation Office, the Australian Securities and Investments Commission, and other government agencies. There'll also be consultations regarding changes to the extent of the ATO's powers and penalisation of non-compliance. The government has not indicated a timeline for when the new system will come into effect. On September 1, 2016, the government introduced a bill to progressively reduce the corporate tax rate from 30% to 25%. This applied to corporate entities with an aggregated turnover of less than $25 million for the 2017-18 income year, and less than $50 million for the 2018-19 income year. The bill received royal assent on May 19, 2017. On October 18, 2017, the government introduced a new bill which, if it receives royal assent, will allow corporate entities with no more than 80% base rate entity passive income eligibility for the lower corporate tax rate starting from the 2017-18 income year. If you're unsure how any of these new bills will affect you, speak with us. The government has proposed new changes to superannuation aimed at making the system more transparent and accountable. The proposed changes will ensure all workers can choose their own funds regardless of enterprise agreements, implement better reporting standards, and ensure at least a third of directors in industry super boardrooms are independent. Currently, unions and employers each appoint 50% of the directors on industry super boards, and the reforms would reduce this proportion to 1 in 3. The government doesn't know exactly how much money is directed to trade unions, but with sponsorships and other payments, government sources believe as much as $8 million could flow from industry super funds to unions every year. By the middle of 2018, new laws will be introduced to mandate positive credit reporting, a move the government believes will increase the availability of credit and help borrowers negotiate lower interest rates. Under the reform, the government will require the major banks to have 50% of their credit data ready for reporting by July 1, 2018, increasing to 100% a year later. It will reduce existing lenders' exposure to defaults and open the lending market to new players by enabling them to better assess the credit risk of customers. The government is still considering whether to mandate participation by other institutions and whether the comprehensive credit regime should be extended to gas, electricity, and phone service providers. In May 2017, the government announced that from January 1, 2018, an additional 10 percentage point capital gains tax discount will be provided for resident individuals who invest in qualifying affordable housing. This will increase the capital gains tax discount to 60%. To qualify for the 60% discount, housing must be provided to low to moderate income tenants, and rent must be charged at a discount below the private market rental rate. The affordable housing must be managed through a registered community housing provider and the investment held for a minimum of 3 years. In May 2018, the European Union's General Data Protection Regulation will come into effect. The change applies to any business that holds, controls, or processes personal data of EU residents. So any Australian company that possesses personal data of EU residents, whether they're customers or employees, is impacted. The new legislation brings direct statutory obligations, such as implementing technical and organisational security measures, and indirect obligations, such as deploying a due diligence process when onboarding a supplier, ongoing monitoring, and exit management. There are significant consequences of non-compliance, including fines of €20 million or up to 4% of global turnover, plus other sanctions, including the ability to halt trading in the EU. Amazon's Australian arrival has seen mixed reactions across small to medium enterprises and larger corporations, with SMEs starting to prepare for Amazon's debut. A recent survey from Inside Retail found SMEs are warming up to the idea of selling on Amazon, but larger businesses remain less enthusiastic. 62% of micro businesses, 56% of small businesses, and 53% of medium-sized businesses said they saw Amazon's arrival as an opportunity to grow. However, big businesses are not convinced, with only 33% expecting Amazon to be helpful for them. Watch this space to see how much the Australian retail landscape is affected.